Super Mario Bros. Wonder, the first new 2D Mario game in about a decade, if you exclude the Mario Maker games, has just come out. In this game, our heroes are brought to the new and exotic Flower Kingdom for a wondrous adventure. That being said, since this whole game takes place in a foreign land, surely that means Mario and crew should have no need of the Mushroom Kingdom's legal tender here. Let's see about that. Is it possible to beat Super Mario Bros. Wonder without touching a single coin? The rules today are pretty simple. You see that coin counter in the top left? Our goal today is to beat the game while keeping it at 0 the whole time. If we do ever obtain a coin, the only acceptable remedy is restarting the whole level. Oh, and before you start talking about them in the comments, these purple flower coin things are completely immaterial to today's challenge. We don't care about them. We are focused strictly on avoiding traditional golden Mushroom Kingdom coins. So, with that established, it's time to let our impoverished journey begin. Before we even start our first proper level, we encounter coins at this social function. Luckily, they're pretty easy to avoid. Title card, Bowser, General Calamity, and what do you know, it's time for the real level 1. Welcome to the Flower Kingdom. Here the coins are a bit tougher to avoid, sometimes even requiring a bit of ducking, but we also learn that these flower buds, while not illegal for us to touch, should generally be left alone, seeing as they often lead to the creation of more coins for us to avoid. A Wonder Flower, on the other hand, which generally warp the stage at hazards significantly when touched, at least in this instance paves the way for a relatively clear shot through the rest of the level, with some dancing pipes. Though it's certainly not a guarantee that all Wonder Flowers will make our life easier. The next level, Piranha Plants on Parade, is the home of our first significant obstacle. Music. Now, I'm not saying that as an old curmudgeon that hates what the kids are listening to these days, but rather as someone who despises the fact that these specific note blocks give you coins when you step on them. Okay, so we'll just jump over them, right? I mean, what's the big deal? Well, it's not that simple, as these blocks here just so happen to be placed at the perfect spot to interrupt the jump arc you would need to use to get over the note blocks. They also happen to be just high enough for you to be unable to land on top of them. But hey, I came here for a challenge, so let's get to work. I tried switching to Luigi, but his physics are exactly the same as Mario's, so that didn't help. I then tried to triple jump onto the blocks, only to find that no such mechanic exists in this game. Well, if you can't go over, maybe pulling a Lehman Brothers and going under will work. In preparation, I damaged myself to become small, then try several times to squeeze underneath the blocks while successfully crossing the notes. These attempts, generally speaking, don't go well, but finally I managed to duck and spin, which barely gets me the distance I need, freeing us to take on the rest of the level where, luckily, coins hidden in the note blocks really isn't much of a thing. Except for here, apparently. Guess I'll make a note to avoid these ones next time. Scram Skedaddlers is considerably easier, though this one Skedaddler at the end leading a conga line of coins is a bit annoying. That gets us to essentially part 2 of World 1, where we finally discover this game's general progression system, which is based on Wonder Seeds. There are certain mandatory levels along our path that require a certain number of Wonder Seeds from the world set levels in to be unlocked. You get 1 Wonder Seed for each flagpole you reach, which could be 2 in one level if there's a secret exit. You can also get Wonder Seeds by conquering the challenges Wonder Flower trips present you with. There's also the option to buy usually 1 per world with purple coins, and then sometimes the game just, gives you them basically for free. The Wonder Seed roadblock immediately ahead of us only requires 3, which we already have, and that sends us to this badge training level where we gain access to the Parachute Cap badge. Now, badges are pretty interesting. Basically, it seems that Nintendo has finally wised up to the fact that in 2D Mario games, the token Flight power-up is basically always the best power-up in the whole game, and therefore sort of crowds out the rest of the power-up design space. So instead, they've made a bunch of what otherwise would have been movement-based power-ups into badges, which can be equipped one per level, in addition to whatever power-ups you already possess. Anyway, this particular badge should be pretty useful, and while yes, there are coins in this pseudo level trying to teach us how to use the badge, we can completely ignore them pretty easily. Now we're going to need to get 10 Wonder Seeds to unlock the next roadblock. And here come the Hoppos, seems like a great place to start. On balance, it's pretty easy, including getting the Wonderflower Seed. A bit more difficult is Break Time, Hurry Hurry. Here you've got to cross this coin-laden bridge before it disappears. Luckily for us, a few of the coins here are purple imposters, which we could use as islands of safety as we glide across. Break Time Wonder Token Tunes is even easier. You have to steer clear of the coins when they burst up and be patient enough to wait for them to disappear before continuing, but like I said, it's still pretty easy. Bull Rush coming through bamboozled me at first, as I ended up collecting coins for no apparent reason during it. As it turns out, there was actually a reason. Specifically that this mushroom's corpse was apparently feeling very generous when it fell upon a couple of coins. Taking the pacifist approach ended up solving that issue. Once you figure that out, getting the normal flagpole is pretty easy. More difficult is getting the Wonderflower Wonder Seed and the secret exit, as those both involve riding the stampeding herd of bulrushes, which coins have a nasty habit of landing on. But as it turns out, falling off the stampede entirely is actually a quite valid strategy for avoiding those coins, so yay! That unlocks the Wiggler Race level, which features a lot of coins on the ideal routes and jump arcs in the level. Luckily, taking the subpar one still leaves us fast enough to win and move on. Apparently this world's castle requires 14 Wonder Seeds to unlock, and we currently only have 11, so time to take on some more levels. Wall Climb Jump 1 seems promising, and if we can beat it, then we'll get the Wall Climb badge. Unfortunately, in what's starting to become an unwelcome trend, this level uses coins to mark the way we should go. They're not too hard to avoid though, as long as you stick to these middle sections. Anyway, we obtain the last 2 seeds we need from Swamp Pipe Crawl and Pipe Rock Rumble, neither of which are particularly worth mentioning. That means it's castle time. Here we go. Honestly, the level is pretty insubstantial, with the exception of one obstacle. This area with the flip blocks and the skull Goombas. The first challenge here is getting past this trio of coins, which can be done with the right timing and a glide. Now success rests on trying to skip the rest of the designated pathway by punching a hole through here and not dying by Goombas as you jump up through it. And then I guess I should mention the Bowser Jr. fight, which is really easy. That brings us to the Petal Isles, where we've got a few levels to take on before we can access World 2. But I'll be honest, all these levels are pretty easy, likely due in large part to the fact that they're mostly water levels and therefore give us a lot of leeway with our mobility options to avoid coins, even being able to dip beneath the screen's view on occasion. Now in World 2, our first objective is to get 4 Wonder Seeds, starting with one we get for free. 2 of the remaining 3 can be found at Unavoidable Valley. Though here you've got to make sure to not ride on the Sice Cube, and then the snowball section is tricky as an execution challenge, though certainly possible to do coinless. The 4th one can be easily obtained from Break Time, Kick It Out of My Way. That brings us to the mandatory level, Con Darts Away. To start with, this level is generally pretty tricky. Coins are in no short supply here, including ones hiding in brick blocks. Now normally those are better than coins out in the open, since they're easier to avoid, being inside brick blocks and all. But not here. That's because when a con dart hits a brick block containing a coin, you get credit for it. So not only do we need to make sure to avoid coins in this level, we also need to make sure there isn't a single con dart that hits a brick block containing a coin as we progress through it. Easier said than done. This guy can be lured to hit normal brick blocks instead of ones with coins as you pass through. This guy you can avoid triggering at all if you keep your head down. And then there's these 2. They simultaneously hit 4 coin-containing blocks. And there's no way Mario can deal with one without activating the other. Try jumping on one and the other gives you coins, simple as that. You could try a fire flower, but the angle required to hit them is such that you'd have to be low enough to activate them, before you'd actually be able to hit them. And don't even think about throwing a shell. Even if you did manage to eliminate one that way, that's just asking for a direct deposit into your account a few seconds later. So yeah, there's nothing we could do to get past this coinless. Eliminating one to get our accumulation down to 2 instead of 4 is the best we could do, alone. But this is a multiplayer game, and if you get Mario and Peach involved, then yes, you can jump on both simultaneously. Not that getting a second player to this point is easy when you've got to play for both, and there's, as far as I can tell, no holding or bubble mechanics in this game. But obstacle by obstacle, it can be done, and therefore these COD darts can be defeated flat broke. But that's not all this level has to throw at us. There's also this bridge where you've got to lure the COD darts to only break the safe bricks, and the coins situated around this slope. But ultimately, the level can be cleared coinless. Now we've got to get to 9 seeds to get access to the next mandatory level. I tried jump, but when I got to this, just no. We could get our seeds from elsewhere. Like Pole Block Passage, which is pretty easy if you can manage to avoid these coins. And also these ones. Next up is Break Time Cloud Cover, which, call me paranoid, but I feel must be evidence that Nintendo is aware of these no-coin challenges. I mean, there's no difficulty to this level at all, unless you're doing a no-coins challenge. That being said, even in a no-coin challenge, it is possible. And speaking of no difficulty, hello KO Arena Fluff Puff Kerfuff. Next up is the badge challenge for the floating high jump badge. Or if you want to use its scientific name, Luigi mode. Now this is a badge I really want to get, as it could be a great problem-solving tool later. But getting through this level to get it certainly isn't easy. Specifically, this jump onto and off from this warp pipe is a doozy. You've got to jump onto just the tip of it to avoid getting the coins, then from there jump around and over those coins to get into a suitable position to be able to jump to the next pipe from. Luckily from there, it's smooth sailing. And now we can take on up and down with puffy lifts, which is extremely easy. Next up is this airship level, which is hectic but possible. Countdown to drop is significantly harder, especially once you reach the latter portion of the level, where Lakitu can just straight up give you coins against your will. Thanks, buddy. Now, when that doesn't happen, it's possible. I don't think I understood cruising with linking lifts, but that didn't stop me from beating it fairly easily. That brings us to the World 2 Castle, where, yeah, there are some coins around, but they only require moderate evasion skills to avoid. Except for these ones. See, the way this part of the level works is that you have to stand on the rightmost pipe to get it to go down, so you can progress further through the level. There's no way to stand on that pipe without collecting at least one coin. And yes, I did try to stand on the edge, but quite frankly, it doesn't work. So, is this our first required coin? Really? I mean, surely not, right? This is a 2D Mario game! Surely there must be some way to skip like half the game, right? Well, if we go back to World 1, we can take on the level Bull Rush Express, which, if you get to the end of as an elephant, you can get the secret exit. That leads to Sproings in the Twilight Forest, which leads to Cosmic Hoppos, which leads to Jet Run 1, an incredibly difficult level which I only managed to beat coinless after mounting a Yoshi. That leads to Pipe Rock Plateau Special, Bounce Bounce Bounce, which after overcoming gets you to the Special World, where we, after all that work, discover that coming here doesn't actually help us at all. See, I was under the impression that this Special World might work like Star Road and Super Mario World, acting as a bit of a shortcut between worlds if you can handle the tough levels within it, but that simply isn't the case. This is just a world hosting difficult post-game levels. Nothing more, nothing less. So yeah, there's no way to avoid having to beat the World 2 Castle, and as such, there's no way to avoid collecting this one coin. let's try to keep it to just that going forward. After a couple moderately tricky water levels in the Petal Isles, World 3 starts with the Hoppycat trial, Hop, Hop, and Away, which has a lot of annoyingly placed coins, but nothing our parachute cap badge can't get us past. And in fact, World 3 has no meaningful challenges for us until the Battle of Midway. This is a mandatory level whose first half, ascending through this structure, isn't too bad. Then we exit that structure and all hope is lost. Here we find, waiting just outside the warp pipe, a band of Hoppycats positioned just underneath brick blocks with coins above. If we jump, then they jump, break the blocks, and cause us to collect the coins above. And of course we have to jump in order to get through this part of the level, and there's no safe way to do so. There are no jump replacements we can use in this game to gain elevation without technically jumping, and there's no way for us to get out of their range without jumping. By all rights, it would seem that we're forced here to collect 4 more coins. But not so fast. There's another way through this level. If you get to Wonderfire and exit through the very top of the level, then you just get spat out through this warp pipe at basically the exact same spots. Well, so much for that idea. It is clear that unfortunately Mario cannot get through this mandatory level without jumping, and therefore can't get through without collecting coins. But if you play as Yoshi, you have access to Yoshi's signature flutter jump, which, activating from midair, like for example from falling out of a warp pipe, doesn't count as jumping, thus allowing you to clear the first gap in this section without activating the Hoppycats. But now what? We'd need to jump if we wanted to progress further from here, which would still activate the Hoppycats from this location, which would still get us the 4 coins. Well, I happen to have just discovered that you could join in a second player mid-level. If we join in another Yoshi, they'll spawn into the game hovering above our primary Yoshi. From there, the new Yoshi can flutter completely beyond the obstacle without technically jumping. But we still have one more problem. The camera is still following our first Yoshi, our trapped Yoshi, so we can't progress. But if we carefully walk Yoshi Prime off the platform and into a bottomless pit, then in the aftermath of Yoshi Prime's demise, second Yoshi becomes the camera's focus, paving the way for the level's completion. And yeah, the rest of World 3 isn't super easy, but nothing else here holds a candle to that. Again, the Petal Isles are easy as we make our way to World 4. This world is pretty open, basically just asking us to find 15 Wonder Seeds from the outset. And it starts off smoothly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 seeds are collected without much issue. But then things start getting a bit tight. Of the remaining Wonder Seed opportunities, Badge Challenge Parachute Cap 2 seems almost certainly impossible due to this section, as does Badge Challenge Crouching High Jump 2, River Run, Color Switch Dungeon thanks to these coins, and Armed is on the Roll thanks to these ones. Rolling Ball Hall's Wonderflower Seed also doesn't seem that promising, but it's one of the better shots we've got. Now these first 2 boulders seem pretty scary, until you realize you can neutralize them entirely with the drill power-up. That doesn't apply to the last one though. Particularly annoying here are the coins in the middle of necessary jump arcs. But that too could be overcome by changing your jump arcs with the floating high jump badge. So there we go. That's 1 more seed acquired. 3 more now. Luckily, 2 of those are actually pretty easy by taking on the newly unlocked Secrets of Shava Mansion. But that still leaves us with the impossible levels. Or does it? Badge Challenge Parachute Cap 2 seemed impossible due to the coins caught in the middle of the piranha plants. It seemed impossible to navigate through while dodging both obstacles. But what if you didn't have to? Nabbit doesn't take any damage. Heck, he doesn't even experience knockback. Take him in here, and you don't need to worry about the Piranha Plants at all, making this level quite possible. And that means it's castle time. This castle is generally quite tricky thanks to a combination of fire bars, spike balls, and coins. But what really takes the cake is this combo here of a fire bar above coin-laced sand beneath a low ceiling. There's no way to get through here coinless without getting hit. But assuming you can take the hit, a parachute cap can get you just the right angle to barely sail over the coins. And then the Bowser Jr. fight is easy. And you know what, I'll just come out and say it. I know people are saying this is like the best Mario game ever, but for all the creativity on display, these boss fights really aren't anything special, even by the already fairly low standards of 2D Mario. Like, I mean, these Bowser Jr. fights, I'm sorry, but they're really lame. Let's be honest. But I already made a video about that sort of thing, so we're not going to talk about that here. Let's get back on topic and take a look at World 5. But first, we've got to deal with an airship on the Petal Isles, which is, again, really easy. Not sure why they put all the easy levels in the Petal Isles, but I won't complain. Now, as for Fungi Mines, we start off by dashing anyone's hopes of a no purple coins run, but luckily, that's not our concern. What is our concern is collecting the 6 Wonder Seeds required to take on the first mandatory level, which is actually pretty easy. Now, as for that level, in Uncharted area Wubba Ruins, it is anything but. Which is strange, as you'd think all this goo around would be to our benefit when attempting to avoid coins. Which it is, but it's not much help for this part of the level. Here is the deal. There is a conch on the ground that'll try to crush you. That, in and of itself, isn't actually much of an issue. Avoiding conchs is generally pretty easy. The problem here is that this conch, since you approach it from the left, will always execute its first attack against you on the leftmost extreme of its attack range. That puts it squarely in position to crush some brick blocks. Coin-containing brick blocks that it's slamming into causes to deposit said coins straight into our account. And just given the geometry of the level, there's no way to avoid this from happening. It is a total inevitability. Unless the conch doesn't exist, that is. What do I mean? Well, video games are interesting pieces of software which take many shortcuts so as to be able to run on weaker hardware like the Switch. In particular, object permanence is not something that video games put much emphasis on. That is to say, in many video games, objects far enough away that they can't meaningfully interact with the player don't actually exist. And that distance can be a lot shorter than you'd expect. We can use this fact to our advantage here. Yes, there's no way we can prevent the conch from initiating an attack on these poor bricks, but if we absolutely book it, then the conch ceases to exist before the blocks are hit, meaning we can get away without getting paid at all. Then from there, getting past the rest of the obstacles and clearing the level is a relatively simple matter. But apparently, that's not good enough. As it turns out, to progress from here, we need to find the secret exit. Okay, no problem. How do we find it? Well, you have to hit a question mark block containing a Wonder Flower. This question mark block. So, the usual way to make this happen would be by letting the conch hit the question mark block, along with all the coin-containing brick blocks surrounding it. We obviously can't do that. But we've got to figure out some way to hit the block, so here's the plan. We enter the level with the floating high jump badge. Hopefully that'll get us the height we need. Now when we get to this section, we start off just like last time. After avoiding getting the coins by passing through, we double back. We lure the conch into attacking the rightmost section of its range, then while it's distracted we run by, jump up, hit the block, and then retreat back before it gets the idea to attack the blocks. Now the issue is, hitting that question mark block, like this, is actually pretty hard, especially given the rush we're in. So there were a lot of failures. But after an hour, I finally got it. Now we keep using distraction techniques to actually get to the Wonder Flower, and once we've got it, we're golden. Next up is Badge Challenge Grappling Vine 1, which as usual features coin paths in the most annoying spots. But utilizing Yoshi can let you avoid those coins, and even skip some of the obstacles entirely. Getting through this door at the Swaying Ruins is the toughest this level gets. And finally, the Poison Ruins can be made fairly trivial if you use the floating high jump badge. But that doesn't apply to the final section, where coins abound in narrow spaces. But we've got ways to deal with this. First, you die. This lets you spawn back in with a different badge, specifically the Add Blocks badge, which adds blocks. I mean, I don't know what else you would have expected. The next thing you do is take a hit so you're smaller. This still doesn't make you small enough to sneak underneath all the coins, but it does allow you to thread the needle to cross if you jump from exactly the right height with exactly the right amount of holding down the jump button. Then the blocks we added help with the next coins, and the rest aren't too bad. That allows us to enjoy the final level in World 5, which features 10 entirely unavoidable coins. I'm sorry, but there's no fake out. I do truly mean it this time. This level is mandatory, this transformation is mandatory, and squeezing through these 1 block wide tunnels filled with coins is mandatory. There's no conceivable way I can think of to avoid this, so. That brings our total to 11 coins. Oh well, off to World 6. As is proper, the Petal Isles are no problem, so welcome to Deep Magma Bog. We've got to get 15 Wonder Seeds to complete this final world, and as usual, the first one is a total freebie. The next one we try is Search Party Item Park. Unfortunately, to beat this level, you have to defeat these cheeps, which you can only do with a Bubble Flower, which we can't use, as defeating enemies with a Bubble Flower causes you to get 1 coin per enemy you defeat with them. So that would make this level impossible. Oh well. Badge Challenge Floating High Jump 2 doesn't go any better in light of the coin-covered platforms here. Thankfully, we have better luck with some normal levels, namely where the Rumbas rule and Rags in the Ruins, netting us a combined 4 Wonder Seeds. 10 more to go. Make that 9 as we obtain another freebie. We gain 2 more at Pull, Turn, Burn. The ending here is tough, but the key to dodging the coins is being willing to take some damage instead. And it even leads to another freebie. Next, we bring a drill into where the Rumbas rule to find the secret exit, which also happens to unlock Badge Challenge Boosting Spin Jump 2, which is really annoying, but really possible. After that, we venture into another region of the bog, only to be stopped by an airship. And quite frankly, I'm not sure we can actually get past it. There are loads of challenging collections of coins here. The first couple seem surmountable, but I don't see how you get around these. This is especially a shame, as I'm pretty sure there are some more levels locked behind this one. But we only need 4 more seeds, so maybe we don't need to unlock those levels and we can get them from elsewhere. Like Badge Challenge Grappling Vine 2. I mean, you can use double Yoshi to get past this part, and even to cross these gaps, but you get here and I'm sorry, but that is just simply not possible. And that is every level we have access to either conquered or deemed impossible, with still 4 more Wonder Seeds to go. Maybe I can give some of them a second look? But I'll be honest, this is not looking good. The Floating High Jump Challenge might have a bit more wiggle room than initially thought. Yes, these platforms are covered in coins, but a Yoshi can reach them with flutter-powered jumps, and more importantly, land precisely enough on the very edges of them to avoid collecting coins. Then this jump is ridiculous given all of the coins right in the middle of the ideal jump arc to use. But if you flutter exactly right, you can make it. And after that, things get so much easier. Okay, 3 more now. And now that I've got Yoshi on my mind, couldn't a Yoshi eat a Cheep Cheep through a wall Like what would be needed in Item Park? Yes, he can! That means that a Yoshi-Daisy team-up can actually get us this seed too. And then we could just straight up buy our 14th seed, meaning that now we just have to get past either the airship or the grapple challenge in order to unlock the castle. They both seem hopeless, I'll admit. But I do have one crazy idea for the grapple challenge that may just work. So, it's abundantly clear here that going the intended route will result in gaining coins. But here's my idea. What if we stacked our Yoshis and ran off the platform entirely, trying to get as far right going underneath as possible? Then we have one Yoshi abandon the other at the very bottom and try to make it even further. If we do that, can we maybe grapple the far wall and avoid the conveyor path entirely? Unfortunately, no. And we're not even particularly close. Okay. But one last tweak. What if we spam the grapple vine while we do that? I think it slows your descent slightly, but maybe not. In any case, it's worth a shot, isn't it? Yes! That is our 15th seed, allowing us to access the World 6 castle, which, compared to what we had to do to get here, is nothing. That means it's time to enter the Bowser Castle and take on the levels there. The first one requires some forethought, but once you know what you're up against, shifting to avoid the coins goes pretty well. The second level's biggest problem is that it's in the dark. Aside from that, it's not too bad. The next three, though, they're pretty bad. It's not even a specific obstacle, really, it's just coins everywhere. And in the most annoying places, sometimes even just sort of appearing out of nowhere. I'll be honest, I don't really have step-by-step tactics here, other than just get good. Well, I made it. These final levels were certainly worthy of being here in the final world. But now, it's final boss time. And this boss fight features no coins whatsoever. And thus, our challenge concludes. We have discovered today that it is not possible to beat Super Mario Bros. Wonder without touching a single coin. Due to 2 places in the game, you must collect a minimum of 11 coins to beat it. Am I disappointed? Sure. But this was still a compelling challenge, where we ended up avoiding so many other coins that seemed inevitable collections at first glance. So in my opinion, this was yet another highly worthwhile challenge to attempt, and I hope you enjoyed going on this journey with me. If you did, please like the video and subscribe for more. Or if you want to see more right now, there's plenty of other Mario challenges on the channel for you to enjoy, including a couple other no-coin challenges. So if that's your jam, have a look. Oh, and if you really like what I'm doing here and want to support my work, consider joining my Patreon, like these fine folks on screen. I'd especially like to thank my $15 tier patron, Ashford Says. But anyways guys, until next time, I've been CMeeCraft, and I'll catch you in the next video. Goodbye.